Hello, everybody. My name is David Parsons, also known as Di Turbo locally. I live in the South Wales Valleys, in a place called Cwm, very poor, working class area. Used to be full of and stewards, now no longer. What I want to discuss today is something that I've had all my life. It's only now I'm starting to recognise how serious this problem is. We all get to a stage in life where things build up, all sorts of problems, and it doesn't matter what you do, you can't, as the saying goes, you can't do right for doing wrong. And you try everything to make things right, but you just can't seem to get out of the big hole that you seem to be in. I had an amazing childhood. I had a time in my life, I had a fantastic time. But I had limitations in school. I struggled with maths, struggled with English. As a kid, secretly, I wanted to become a journalist because one, I believe that the news is important, and two, I wanted to travel. Unfortunately, the very thing that I struggled with the most was English. Maths was just a foreign language, and grammar and spelling was like alien to me. I just couldn't grasp it for whatever reason. But because I was enjoying it, I just carried on. I had no help. I had maths and spelling tests. I passed examinations, sat examinations, but never passed. And at 16 years of age, when I left school, I had no high expectations of myself. I knew then that I was limited. I come out of school with no qualifications. All I was given was a pile of certificates called COE, Certificate of Education. Basically, it means nothing. It just means that they've given you some sort of education, but never mind. That's Great Britain for you. When I went to the careers officer in 1989, he sat me down, and I'll never forget the words. He basically said to me, "What are you going to do with yourself, son?" And I just looked at him with this blank look. I didn't have a clue. All I said was, the first thing that came into my head was factory work. So being unskilled, no qualifications, I fell through the cracks, as the saying goes, and ended up in an unskilled job, working for peanuts, and just carried on. This has gone through 90% of my life. 1989 I left school, and now it's 2021. For years, I struggled working in factories, not being able to pick up certain things, not understanding certain things. Machinery, especially with technology, was a pure struggle. I used to have to work all the time on my own back just to try and look at things and try and understand what was going on. I had youngsters coming in behind me to jump over my head and just would pick up things so much quicker than me, and I just scratched my head and just couldn't work out what was going on. In 2007, being out of work for the second time and having quite a considerable time out of work, 2 years exactly, with no qualifications, no real skills, no transport other than public transport to rely on, which is very poor in the South Wales Valleys. Through a lot of determination and me not giving up on myself, I joined a course called Job Match. Basically, it was to give you a basic wage, to get into a placement, to get you trained up, get you skilled and qualified in a particular job, and hopefully then to keep you in a full-time job. Unfortunately for me, the very place that I picked, which was a care home, I put all my heart and soul, worked God knows how much overtime, worked every single weekend, and for 11 and a half years, I did a pretty good job, I'd like to think. Unfortunately for me, the last 4 years became very difficult because a particular family took over and decided they want to run things their way. They could see I was a problem because I was one of those that I'd fight my corner. I'd stick up for myself. Something you don't see enough of in these days. So the last going off in this job, 2018, just under 3 years ago, I decided to stick up for myself, got my union rep involved, and I fought this particular home I worked in. There was no real outcome. I was paid £5,000 just to go away. I had to sign a contract to say that I wouldn't take it any further, and I was on my way. But back in 2007, when I first started, I had to go to the Eberville College. And through the Eberville College, I'm opening up and telling them the truth about myself and telling them I left school with no qualifications. In fact, I was told by my supervisor then to lie on my CV and just put down all sorts of qualifications I had. Something I regretted in doing because I don't believe in lying. So, through the college, they done a series of tests and they discovered that I had dyslexia. This was very strange for me and very hard to take in, but it also gave a name to a problem I had. I knew I had difficulties, I knew I had problems, now I got a name. 13 and a half years has gone by and I've contacted every single place up and down the country that you can possibly contact. British Dyslexia, all sorts. I've gone through all these different avenues. And I have had no response back other than they can't really help me unless I've got lots of money to spend, and then they can give me some sort of help in counselling. Over the years, and I've been very open to different people with my problems. I'm not one to hide. I don't believe in dyslexia being something you should be embarrassed about, even though I know a lot of people are. I've been open. I don't care what people know. If they want to call me over or call me stupid or whatever, that's entirely up to them. It doesn't bother me. Names never bothered me. But two of the big problems that I have to do with the dyslexia is a short-term memory loss, which is quite common, and a poor concentration problem. Now, I haven't been fully assessed or had any sort of screening for dyslexia. I've tried different agencies, including all the big ones, and I've got nothing back in any kind of response other than if I got lots of money. I've been to the doctor to try and get help. Just does not know what I'm going on about and doesn't see what the problem is. This problem have restricted me to do lots of different things. It have affected my life. It have definitely affected the quality of life that I've had, and everything that I've done in life I've had to work a lot harder for just to make ends meet and just to survive. Recently, in the last couple of years working in care, I've discovered that my problems, because I've never had no help, has now got much worse. The concentration problem has now led me to making mistakes in and out of the job, to a point where last August I had to go on the sick for the first time in my working life because I could not cope anymore. I basically had gone as far as I could go on my own and put my hands up and said, I can't do no more. This is not working. So I've pulled myself literally out of society. In the few months since then, which is roughly about 5 months, I've sat in front of the computer trying to work out where I go from here. The answer to that is, I do not know. I've spoken to a few people, I've gone in depth with my problems, and it's the same thing over and over again. They just don't seem to understand. Whatever's going on with my mental condition has affected me to a point now where I don't even know where my next job is going to come from. I don't even know what I'm capable of doing. At the age of nearly 48 years of age, I know less about what I'm capable of doing now than when I left school. I had optimism when I left school. I have no optimism now. Over the last few weeks, as a last-ditch attempt, I've contacted all these big agencies yet again to try and see if there is anything they can do for me. One company even contacted me just before Christmas and said that I can have counselling, but it costs £110 a session. One, I would never pay that. Two, I don't believe I should have to pay that because I have been treated unfairly by society in the fantastic place known as Great Britain. And three, I'm now out of work. So I'm in limbo. Basically, I'm one of those many people that have fallen through the cracks. And I'm just, nobody seems to care. But I care. I'm a determined person. I'm stubborn. I've done lots of things in my life that I can be proud of. 7 times weightlifting champion. I've done DJing, which I'm still DJing online. I've done asbestos removal. I've done everything I can to stay in work for this horrible disease. And disease, dyslexia really is, no matter what anybody says. I have done everything I can to level myself and keep myself on an even keel and keep my head above water. I've paid my taxes, done overtime, been treated badly in certain jobs by certain people, been talked to and belittled in front of people, and I've put up with everything that I know a lot of people wouldn't put up with. But now I'm at a crossroads in my life. I've got 3 options. I either curl up in a ball and end up having some sort of real big breakdown, which could happen because I now suffer with mental health issues, depression, which I'm now on tablets for. I could talk myself, which would be, some people say it's the coward's way out. When you have no options and things just are not going right through in life, it's not the coward's way out, it's an option. Or 3, I can battle on. Everything I've done in the last 15 years to try and seek this help has failed. So I've sat down recently and I thought, well, clearly what I'm doing is wrong. And if I continue doing the same thing, I'm going to get the same results as a very knowledgeable man told me the year before last. So what I've decided to do is, I'm not very good with technology, and this YouTube stuff is very alien to me as well. But I thought the very thing I'm struggling with, I will use on my arsenal. So basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a series of things to try and get some answers as to why people like myself, not just myself, and there's lots of people out there that suffer with all sorts of different disabilities that are treated very poorly and very badly. I'm going to try and seek and get the answers. And if I die in the process of getting these answers, then it'll be worth doing, because I've got too much fight in me to just lie back and accept things, as I've been told by a lot of other people now. Oh, there's not a lot of help out there, you just got to accept it. No, I'm not accepting this. I'm not putting up with this. We're supposed to be living in the 6th or 7th wealthiest country in the world, what do eyeballs in debt due to the lovely virus that this great government seem to think they've done a good job sorting out. But if we're supposed to be living in a civilized society, why is it people like myself who are clearly struggling are not given the help and the attention that we deserve? I've never committed a crime, never hurt or harmed anybody, never been to prison, never ever done anything to hurt or harm anybody. And yet I seem to be kicked down at every opportunity that my problems arise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this YouTube channel now to do a weekly thing on finding out and getting to the answers. I've just today emailed the British Dyslexia company. Basically what I want off them is, after me trying to seek and get help for the last 15 years, is it right in me thinking that unless I got lots of money or some other thing that is preventing me getting the help and getting some sort of closure into what is going on, is it true to believe that there is no help out there for me? And what I want them to do is to answer me via email or a letter saying that it isn't, because I intend to take this to the highest possible people I can. First of all, next week, I'm going to write to my local MP. It might not do any good, but it's a start. I've got to go through this process. Secondly, then I'm going to even write as far as I go. I'm going to even contact the Prime Minister, as stupid as that sounds. I'm going to go through the BBC News channels, Sky News channels, anybody that will listen. So over the next 2 weeks, I'm going to get myself busy and contact and get all these different contacts and write off to these people and explain to them my situation and the fact that I've had a lot of problems in my life due to this condition, and due to the fact I've never been properly tested and never been properly given the right support. And now I'm in a position where I am out of work, struggling, and don't know what is going to happen to me from here on in, other than ending up living off benefits and being sanctioned every month and starved. So I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to use this channel to weekly give updates and see if I can fight for some sort of justice, not just for myself, but other people. So what I want to do is to give my email, and for anybody who watches this or post it on Facebook, because I haven't actually got a Facebook channel myself. I've been doing bits with my brother's Facebook because I'm not very clever with computers. And I want people to email me if there's anybody out there that's gone through the same problems as I've had. And I want to sort of build up some sort of consensus and then see how far I can take this. If in the end it means that there's no help for me and I just got to bow down to it, but I want people to know. Because I believe that the fight I've got to continue for justice for people who are struggling, that need help, who are willing to do their best, but are now being told in their lives that their best isn't good enough. Where do you go when somebody tells you that your best isn't good enough? Because that's something that I would love to know. So I'm going to do this and see where I go. I believe that life is a journey, life is a test. And every day of my life, I've been tested. Well, this is a journey I'm going to complete. So I would love for people to support me if they possibly can. Clearly, if you're not interested or you think it's a waste of time, that's entirely up to you. But anybody who is anybody that's willing to support this cause, I would be delighted. I don't want money off anybody. I just want people's support and people's stories and information. So you can email me on parsonsd880@gmail.com. I'll answer every single email that comes in. I will give you a full story with all the problems and the way I've been treated in the workplace in my life. I've even decided, I've struggled to do it, but with the help of Grammarly, I've done my own memoirs. The name of the book is called How Mean Is My Valley. I've tried to get it printed again. Two companies just haven't given me nothing back. They're not interested, clearly. And one company wants me to publish it, but they want a lot of money. The book is very graphic. It's very honest. It's not all negative. It's just the instance and things that are happening in my life that have held me back with dyslexia, and the way I've been treated, the way the personality that I have to try and fight hard and continue on. There's some amazing things in there. There's a lot about the power and the amazing power of music, because music is an underrated power. Music brings people together. Religion doesn't do that. Politics does not do that. Rich people don't do that. They divide people. Music brings people together. And it's about the power of friendship. Friendship is a very, very important thing in my life. And I am lucky to be surrounded by some amazing people who have supported me, but unfortunately can't help with the condition that I've got. So I'm going to do this every Thursday evening, live if possible, because everything I say and do is not rehearsed. It's straight out of my heart. That's the way I've always been. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I am going to sleeve now. And I'm going to keep fighting this until I get some answers and get some sort of justice. Because I've looked at my basic human rights online, and they say that one of your human rights is you're entitled to some sort of education. Well, I was never given a good education. I was pushed aside because they could see that I was suffering. I wasn't helped in school. And now years later, I'm struggling. I know for a fact that if I didn't have this condition, that I'd be in a better place than I am now. Probably a lot better off, probably in a nice house. As it is, I'm 47 years of age and still living with a 98-year-old father, and is basically one step away from being on the streets. Because if it wasn't for my father helping me out, I would be exactly there. I'd be on the streets through no fault of my own. So I'm going to say the email again. Get in touch, please. This is important, not just for me. I want to see what is going on, how bad things is, and more to the point, get to the bottom of why these companies class themselves as helping people with dyslexia. But then when people with certain conditions like myself contact them, it doesn't seem to be any help. Let's get to the bottom of this. What is a charity these days? Because if a charity is not going to help you, how can it be a charity? Why do these companies always seem to want money if they're funded by other people? Non-profit companies, they call themselves. Well, non-profit to me means you should be able to get the help. So any support is great. Any email you give me, I will contact you. If you give me a phone number, I will contact you back. This is so important. This is probably going to be the biggest thing that I've ever done in my entire life, but I will not stop whether I have one person supporting me, 100,000 people, or no support at all. I'm going to keep doing this until somebody listens to me and somebody takes me aside and tells me what the hell is going on in the modern society of today, why people who are struggling in life are not helped. So again, the email is small letters, Parsons D880@gmail.com, and this is Die Turbo's fighting for justice, fighting for answers. So if you see this and you like it or you're interested, post it to somebody else, do whatever you've got to do, but please get it out there, because this is never going to get better. It's always going to be a fight, just like racism and every other kind of discrimination. It's a war, it's a fight. It's never going to get better, but you've got to keep fighting, because we deserve so much better. And every day I look in the mirror and I'm not happy with myself. The person I've become now is not the person I used to be. But I look at myself in the mirror and I look at myself and say, I deserve better. And hopefully sometime next year, if this virus ever calms down, and I'm going to be discussing other things as well, including the virus, I'm going to try and get some T-shirts put on, made up with a logo, "Don't be a target." In other words, just because we suffer with any kind of disability, whether you have no legs, no arms, whether you've got all sorts of different things, you've still got a right to a life. You've still got the right to be treated better. So thank you very much. And like I said, any of your support would be great and would be very appreciative. Thank you very much.